Welcome to session 6 of the course. In this session, we will focus on three things. The first being forms, the second being redirection, and the third being how to pass multiple data to the HTML templates. Now, since it is more than one topic, I will have multiple videos to cover all of these areas. Keep in mind that it will be one single application that we will be building to demonstrate each of these concepts. Okay, let's get started. By the way, you can download this file, this directory, and you can follow along. Okay, I have my main.go. For the UI, I have HTML, I have static, I have CSS, image, JavaScript, and of course, I just created another folder directory called formula. Okay, I'll discuss why I did that in a few. Now back to main.go. What I ended up doing was to change the directory for the static files to /static. Previously, they were named /resource. Standard practice is to have the URL path to be the same as the directory static. Okay, so usually when you look at code in the real world, you'll see that they all have the same name: static, 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 or resource, resource, resource. Okay, so to demonstrate all these concepts, these three concepts, we want, and by the way, I decided to clean up some of the code. I took away the comments because I had put them there for you to read and to better understand. But since all they're doing here is taking up space, I decided to remove them. But of course, as you know, we need to always comment our code. All right, so what we want to do, we want to calculate and display the area of a rectangle. Okay, and by accomplishing this, what seems like a trivial task, we will be touching on each of these three areas. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to come up with our URL paths, okay, that the user will navigate to be able to see the form, right? So we need to be able to display the form, and after the user has submitted the form, we want to be able to display the answers. So I'll go ahead and I will do that first. So handle func. Let's call this URL path /area -calculator. Okay, and we will say that it will trigger a function handler named get values. Okay. Okay. So we also need a path, a URL path, where we'll be sending the user to see the results after we have calculated those results. So we will have, let's call it, and usually we call it almost with the same name as the one that takes them to the form. So I will say area-calculator dash 2. Okay, and this part will trigger the calculate area function handler. Okay, so that's a reasonable first step. We need to know what the URL paths are, and we need to come up with some names for the function handler. Okay, all right, that seems fairly straightforward. Okay, so let's create sort of some empty function handlers. One of them will be named get values, and one of them will be named calculate area. All right. Okay, so I could just copy and paste this, save time. Okay, and we'll call this one get values. All of this will be empty. And this one will be calculate area. Okay, so a little comment, show the form to the user. Compute and display the area. Okay, so we have our two function handlers where we'll be writing the code in, and so that takes care of that. All right, so step one, we have the URL paths and the function handlers. Step two, we decided to make the function handlers empty, and so now we will look at the forms themselves. Okay, so since I assume you took Introduction to Web Development in your associate, I have created the forms for you. Okay, so even though I call it a .tmpl template, you'll notice that there isn't any curly braces to signify that any data will be injected into this form. Okay. All right. So it's a very simple form. The label will be what is the length of the rectangle, and then we'll have the box, and then the other one will be what is the width of the rectangle, and then we have the box underneath, right? To the side actually. So let me see if I can display that. Let's come here. Display, yeah, this one. Okay, so what is the length of the rectangle? Right, we have the box. What is the width of the rectangle? We have the box. And of course, we have the submit button. Now, the key thing to keep in mind, all right, is this section right here. For those of you who forgot, a method could be either get or post. Your lecturer would have told you that when you use the get method when submitting a form, the values are displayed in the URL, right? So anybody can see those values. However, when you make the method post, those values from the form boxes are not displayed in the URL at the top. And that's the reason why we use post. Now, for the action simply says, what is the URL that we will use to submit the values for the form, okay? So I am saying that when the person hits the submit button, I want to go to this URL path. And if you recall, that path, area-calculator, so area-calculator, what will it do? It will trigger the get values function handler, which will then deal with those values. All right. All right. So that's our form. Okay. The action is what is the URL path. Okay. Now, I also created the display area page, and once again, it's somewhat simple. It will say the length of the rectangle is, and all of this will be replaced by the length. The width of the rectangle is, all of this will be replaced by the width, and of course, it will tell me the area. And also, if I want the user, however, to see the actual formulas I used, I can create this text file, and if the user clicks on it, they can see the area, the formula that I used. Okay? All right. So the only thing to keep in mind, to do that, to be able to see the text, we need to use this, well, obviously it's a link, right? So the link is area.txt. And we use an href, okay? And to do the href, I use /static/formula/area.txt. And so you might be saying, why am I using this? Well, ask yourself, where is this file located? Display.area.page.tmp. Where is it located? It's inside HTML. Okay, so if I want to specify area.txt, which is inside formula, I have to tell the system, okay, // which means go up one directory. So if this file is in HTML, we will go up. And if we go up or out, which directory will we be in? We will be in UI. So once I am in UI now, I will just go to static. And then I will go to formula. And from formula, I'll be able to get the file. That's the reason why I start with /. Okay. Okay. So these are the two templates that we're using. Okay. So in the previous templates, I only showed you how to send one piece of data. But here we have 3 pieces of data to fill out. And so I'll show you how to do that. It's not necessarily complex. It's just an extension to what we have learned. All right, so to summarize, we created our URL paths. We created empty handler functions. And then we simply looked at the page flow for the user interaction. And when I say page flow, it simply means, okay, how will the user navigate my system or my app to get the results that they are seeking? Right? In this case, the result that they are seeking is to be able to put in 2 numbers and get the area. Okay, so that's the objective of the user. The user is using our service. And how will the user navigate our service? Well, they will have to go to the area.calculator path. And once they're there, they'll be shown the form. They'll fill in the form. They'll hit the submit button. And once they hit the submit button, they'll be taken to another path, area-calculator-2, which will display the results. So that's what I mean by the page flow. How does the user go from one page to the next? Okay, page flow. All right, so I think that's enough for this first video, session 6, part A. In the next video, we will start filling in the code for the function handlers. All right, So I'll see you in that next video.